What is going on, my Coast Guard recruits? This is Martin, and it has certainly been a while, hasn't it? But I'm back, and I'm happy to be here and looking to bring you guys some really helpful content that will hopefully prepare you to be a better, stronger recruit when you arrive in Coast Guard Boot Camp. I appreciate you having me. I appreciate your time. I'm going to attempt to make the most of your time here. So I had this idea, which I thought would be really helpful to you guys, and I decided to start what I will call the Ask Martin series. So this is going to be the first episode of that series. A lot of you are always writing me emails or sending me messages on Facebook or leaving comments on the YouTube videos, asking questions. And I've noticed over time that I'm getting a lot of the same questions, which is obviously makes sense because naturally people are curious about a lot of the same issues. So rather than keep repeating myself and keep answering the same questions over and over to different people, which I'm still going to continue to do, but I thought it would be helpful for everyone out there to start a series where I pick 3 questions for every episode, and then I answer those questions for all of you so that everyone can see them. So maybe if you have a similar question, you're going to see it answered. So this is going to be the first episode of Ask Martin, where I answer all of your Coast Guard Boot Camp questions. So let's get started with today's first question on the first episode. Our first question comes to us from Mataya Neal. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Mataya asks, "Hello, I am researching before I actually decide to go into the Coast Guard. My question to you is, do the women train just like the men?" So Mataya, to answer your question, for the most part, about 90%, 95% of the training for Coast Guard men and women is exactly the same. There are, however, 3 differences that you will experience as a female in Coast Guard Boot Camp that will make your experience a little bit different than your male shipmates. The first major difference is that you will be sleeping in separate sleeping quarters. Now in Coast Guard Boot Camp, those are called squad bays. So males have their own squad bay and females have their own squad bay. Now, depending on the setup, you might share the same deck, which in regular layman's terms, you'll essentially be on the same floor. But you will always sleep in your own squad bay, one for the men and one for the women. The second major difference is that your physical fitness test standards are a bit different. For men, the physical fitness standards are, for push-ups, you will have to perform 29 push-ups in 60 seconds, whereas for females, it's 15 push-ups in 60 seconds. For sit-ups, it's 38 in 60 seconds for men, and 32 for women. And lastly, for the 1.5 mile run, men have to complete it in a minimum of 12 minutes and 51 seconds, whereas females have 15 minutes and 26 seconds to complete the 1.5 mile run. The third and last difference between the male and female experience in Coast Guard Boot Camp is that for men, we get judged by our facial hair, right? So this has to, none of this. This is the complete opposite of what you want to look like in Coast Guard Boot Camp. As a female, you will not be judged by how much facial hair you have on your face. The female version of that is your hair. So females in Coast Guard Boot Camp are judged by the way their hair looks. And all the females have to have their hair slicked back in basically a tight bun. So your hair is really gelled back like this, and then you have a tight bun, and you have to keep it that way. That is the female version of what guys have to go through with having a clean shaven face. So those are the 3, again, those are the 3 differences. Men and women sleep in different barracks. The physical fitness test standards are different. And then the facial hair versus the hair on your head is what you're judged on. Other than that, your experience will be exactly the same as your male counterparts. You're going to do morning physical fitness exercises together. You're going to have chow together. You're going to do incentive training together. You're going to take classes together. Everything else is basically exactly the same for men and women in Coast Guard Boot Camp. Our second question comes to us from Feel the Effects. Feel the Effects asks, Is it true that the company commanders will make us do IT, which is incentive training, until we make it rain in the squad bay? By make it rain, I'm assuming, you mean that you're gonna sweat a lot. You're gonna sweat so much that you're gonna make a puddle underneath you. And yes, I actually did see my shipmates sweat to the point where they did make a puddle underneath them. Incentive training is generally more, I will say, creative. The company commanders get really creative, and they find all sorts of ways to really tax your muscles, tax your body, most importantly, tax your mind. And a lot of that stuff will make you sweat. The incentive training really, it depends on how many performance trackers you've accumulated during the day. If you accumulate a lot of performance trackers, they're going to make you work harder than your shipmate next to you who may have only gotten one or two, which again is more reason to get ready ahead of time so that you're not drenched in a pool of sweat. Also, just a lot of the stuff involves a lot of static holds and just really uncomfortable positions. For the two most common incentive training kind of static positions that you should be familiar with, I really recommend checking out the video that I made called 2 exercises that you must know going into Coast Guard boot camp. That will show you the 2 most common static holds that you will be exposed to in Coast Guard boot camp that you should really get ready for now, because those will make it, make you rain, so to speak, if you're not ready for them. They will also make you do other things. For example, they'll have you take your ink stick. Ink stick is Cape May slang for pen. And they'll blow their whistle, and when they blow their whistle, you have to squat down and leave your ink stick on the floor and come back up. Then they'll blow their whistle again, you have to pick it up. Then they'll blow their whistle again, you gotta put it back down. And they'll sit there and they'll make you do that for sometimes 20 minutes, half hour straight. Just blow the whistle, bend down, pick it up, blow the whistle again, and just keep putting it up and down just mindlessly for a half an hour. So by the time you're done, you may have done, 500 to 1,000 squats, because you keep having to squat down to get the pen and, all that. So yes, that will make you sweat. So, in conclusion, to kind of wrap up that question, incentive training is certainly more difficult than the morning physical fitness training. But again, it's really based on mostly how many performance trackers you accumulate during the day. Our third and final question comes to us from Steve OSG258. Steve O writes, "Hey, I swear in September 11th, not sure of my basic training date, but it should be soon. Do they have different platoons for different weight sizes for the exercises, or are all the exercises the same for everyone? Hope you can help. PS, planning on buying the book." So first of all, thank you for supporting and buying the survival guide. It will most definitely help you get ready for Coast Guard boot camp. Secondly, the Coast Guard does not have platoons. The Coast Guard has companies, so you will form as a company. Platoon is not the correct terminology, just so you're aware of that. Lastly, to answer your direct question, there are weight standards for the Coast Guard, and you have to meet those weight standards. But once you meet those weight standards, as long as you're not over or under, that's the only time that weight is a factor in Coast Guard boot camp. Other than that, you form as a company, and you do all the same exercises as a company. There's no difference. If you're a bigger guy or a thinner guy, everyone's gonna do the same amount of stuff and same amount of reps and go through the same workout together. So there's no differentiation. So I hope that answers your question. That'll be all for today. Thank you guys for watching this first episode of Ask Martin. Remember, if you have any questions that you'd like to get answered, please use the comment section below this video to ask your questions, or feel free to email me at bootcampsuccess@yahoo.com. Again, that's bootcampsuccess@yahoo.com. You can also send me a message on Facebook, whatever way you'd like to ask your question. And, if it's a great question, then I will choose it and I will feature it on a future episode of Ask Martin.
All right, guys, that's all. Thank you for watching SurviveCoastGuardBootCamp.com. Ask Martin, first episode. Make sure you stay tuned for further episodes. And happy training.